So my rule of thumb is this. If you're painting, you want the inks to be the consistency of single cream. They need to flow, but they need to be a little bit viscous. If you're writing broad edge calligraphy, you really want the ink to be the consistency of whole milk or full fat milk. So that's a little bit creamier, but it's not the consistency of single cream. It's a thinner, smoother ink, and it moves out of a broad edge nib much more easily. Now, of course, this is slightly different because if you're doing small broad edge nib work as opposed to large broad edge nib work, you need to adjust the inks based on the tool that you're using. But whole milk or full fat milk is a really good reference for inks for broad edge calligraphy. If you're doing copperplate script, the ink should be the viscosity of, or rather the fluidity of 2% or semi-skimmed milk. So that's a much thinner ink. And if you're doing, sorry, it's a much thinner fluid. And if you're doing Spencerian script, you want the ink to be the liquidness of 0% fat or skimmed milk. So one of the things I did when I was at art school was I was trying to figure out a really good scale for this kind of thing. And I took the 0% milk or the skim milk and I would pour it into a glass. And I'd pour it between two glasses so I could feel how fluid it is and how it looks and how it sounds. And of course, you're not going to do that with ink because you'd need a lot of ink to do that with. But when you try it with milk, it gives you a really good reference point. And when you try it with things like the 2% or the semi-skimmed milk, that you can feel how different it is in the way it flows and pours. Its luster is different to 0%. When you try it with full fat milk, it's a very different matter. So that should help you when you're working with inks, to sort of have a frame of reference for the inks. It's not a foolproof method for all inks because if you have particles in the ink like mica, if it's iridescent, if you are using a suspension rather than a solution, so if you've mixed up gouache as opposed to using fountain pen ink, so there are variables that will affect that gauge, but it's a really good gauge to work with. Try it with the milk first. Not writing with the milk, but try pouring the milk so that you get a sense of what that consistency